Welcome to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
Hi, everybody. I'm spiritual medium Kellee White, and welcome to Ask Me Anything. Have you guys? Hi, Renee. How you doing, Renee? Hey, Tracy. I'm so happy Carrie is here too. We have a great guest, everybody. Hey, Jessica. Hi, Julie. Hi, Alicia. Oh my gosh. I want to give a special shout out to a friend of mine, Adrienne. Hi, Adrienne. I know you've been watching from Los Angeles, so hello, honey. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Lori. Oh, hey, Jody. I love pink tulips too. I love tulips. I love spring. Hi, Raina. Oh my gosh. Hi, Raina. How are you? I remember you. Hey, Debbie. How are you? I loved your family, Debbie. They're just wonderful. Hi, Gloria. Oh my gosh. We miss you too. Hi, Amy. How fun. Hi, Pina. What a great name. This is so much fun, everybody. Has everybody had quite a week? I'm just curious. Let me know if you've had quite a week. This has been a strange week. Yesterday was that 555 day, and I was talking about 555, and I wondered if anybody had done something, I don't know, interesting or different on 555 because it was a really powerful energy day. And hi, Cece. And I thought I would do something. Oh, thanks, Debbie. Hi, Shanley. Yeah, you get. Oh, and you get Carrie too. I know. How great is that? I did something really different yesterday on a 555 day. Now, I'll tell you what I did. I made a plane reservation. Now, that doesn't sound like it's that different, except that I've been home for over a year. I used to fly on a plane every day. It was like breathing to me. I just, make my reservation, head on out. That was it. Yesterday, I literally stood here looking at, the airline flights and trying to determine how does this work? I swear I felt like Ma Kettle. I hadn't left the farm and like I'm going out in the big wood, the big world. It was the weirdest experience. Um, so I guess things are starting to move ahead now, and that's a good sign. That really is a good sign. Oh, Renee, you worked with 2 new clients. That's great, honey. Hey, Jan. Hi, Alyssa. Sweet. Hunter says, I got knocked on my butt by my dog yesterday, which was new. That's very funny. Is his name Otis? um, so anyway, it was an interesting energy day. So I want to talk about a couple of new things, a couple of good things that are coming up here. We have a new moon in Taurus on May 11th. And that's a really good thing, this new moon in Taurus. It's going to make us feel really grounded again. Taurus rules things, earth, it's an earth sign, so earthly things. It rules food, nutrition, land, properties, the body, things that, earth topics. And it's going to make us feel comfortable again. It's actually a good time. It's a good new moon. It's going to make us feel secure. And then on May 13th, through July 28th, so May 13th, a big astrological event happens. This is next week. It's Jupiter enters Pisces. This is a blessed time, actually. It promotes compassion. It promotes understanding. It promotes positive thinking, spirituality, being kind to your neighbors. So this is a really good experience. So that should be between May 13th, and even though we're going to have some ups and downs on this roller coaster we're on, that when that Jupiter hits Pisces, it's significant. It should bring in some deep spirituality. Jessica says May 13th is her birthday. Wow. Hey, Charlene, you will not believe how good that is for you. That's going to be a great day, Jessica. That's going to be fantastic. Well, I've got the greatest guest of all. As many of you know, I've had this guest on our show before, somebody that I just absolutely love and adore, and I think the world of, and I love her work. And I'd like to bring. Oh, let me tell you a little bit about her. Since childhood, my guest Carrie has been gifted with clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and empathic abilities. She has gone She has done extensive training with some of the world's most powerful healers and is trained in multiple healing modalities. She's a gifted spiritual, intuitive, Reiki master, shamanic practitioner, and facilitator in family constellation therapy. Welcome, Karie Gonia. Hi, Karie.
Hi. Hi, Kel. Oh, I'm so happy to be with you on a Thursday. I'm never with you on a Thursday.
I know. This is so exciting. For people that don't
Oh,
know Karie and her work, we're going to talk about her work today and the work that the three of us, including Dr. Shirley and Pellizzeri and I, are doing together. But Karie is a really gifted family constellation facilitator. I always want to say
I
therapist,
know, I do
but
too.
I know that it's
It,
slightly different, but
yeah.
it's an extraordinary work. So for people that don't understand or have never had the pleasure and the experience of working with you, tell us what family constellation therapy is and what it can do for people.
I mean, you know how much I love it. I just think it's extraordinary and I could go on and on and on about it. It's kind of hard to explain. So family
Yeah.
constellation therapy, kind of in layman's terms, it goes to the heart of trauma, whatever that trauma is. I always use the analogy of hoses that have been kinked over and over and over again. So
Mhm.
FCT goes to the heart of the trauma and it kind of unkinks that hose. So it's predominantly done in big groups of people. So like you would sit on the sidelines and someone would stand in what is called a morphogenic field. They call the field the knowing field, which I think is really beautiful. It's literally the consciousness of your entire family system. So anything good or bad can show up in this knowing field.
So let me get this straight. So people that have never had this experience, so you open up what's called a morphogenic field. So
Mhm.
they come in and see you, and then you open up spiritually.
Mhm.
You open this energy up. And I've had 2 sessions with Karie, so I know how powerful this energy is. So when it's opened up, then what happens?
So when it's opened up, and the field, as you know, is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, I was in a group session, a group constellation years ago, and I was actually a representative. So what that meant is the person that came had an issue. She had this like debilitating fear that she has had for decades. And so the facilitator, I was actually just a participant, but the facilitator put in her grandfather, who had been in war and was a prisoner of war, but I didn't know any of that. So I literally stepped into the field as the representative for the grandpa. So what that means is I then feel in my body, in my emotions, in my psyche, anything that is stuck. And when I literally got out of my seat, Kel, and like stood in the morphogenic fields representing grandpa, I literally, my whole body just bent over and I was like, I literally felt like I got shot in the head and her
Wow.
grandfather was executed in the head.
Oh, wow.
So it's intense. The field can be intense. I mean, they're not all like that, obviously, but historically,
Is it so families hold trauma? So generational families hold trauma.
whole
So
trauma.
whether it's addiction or I guess it really wouldn't matter what the trauma would be that is being held in the generations. And this would be traumas that are never been worked on or not necessarily discussed.
Yeah, and sometimes I think there are traumas that are unknown. I hear this a lot,
Ah,
like, "Oh, my family's private," or "Oh, the secrets,"
yes.
"Oh,
Family
curses," and I'm
secrets.
I'm
Yeah,
just like, "Oh, that's just trauma," But
right.
so that's the beautiful thing about the morphogenic fields, the knowing field. We don't actually need to kind of know the story. I mean, I go through
Yeah,
the story with people just so that I can get some information and then so they can feel really heard. And then obviously when I'm working with people one on one, I don't have resources to
right.
stand in and represent the energy of their family. So when I used to see pre-COVID, I would see people in person, and as you know, I would have different you. They have a little different foam, different colored sizes footprints that you can actually stand on. Some practitioners use little dolls. You can
Oh,
actually just set it up in a meditation. I just like the feet because the feet helped my brain, but you actually step into the energy, the trauma, the belief, the emotion of whatever is stuck. So
so
addiction,
anything could come out.
anything. Addiction, war trauma, money trauma. I clean up a lot of money trauma.
So let's talk about money trauma because I know we're going to be doing a webinar and that's going to be one of the
Yeah.
highlights that you'll be talking about. So tell us about when you say money trauma, tell me what you mean by that.
I want to backtrack just for a second. I'm really excited about our workshop because I kind of picked the main three that I focus on the most. People come to me for money trauma, like weight trauma, and addiction. There's addiction in family, like tons of family systems.
Yeah.
So money trauma could be loss of business, loss of home, poverty, obviously, is a big money trauma, and some of that's super generational, or it can
Yes.
be the kind of the other end of the spectrum. I have a handful of clients who were born into wealth, and that creates different dynamics.
Right.
Yeah.
Seen it from all ends of
Yeah,
it, but
me
it
too.
always creates a dynamic.
Yep. And it's funny, Kellee, because I feel like poverty family systems, trust fund family systems,
Mhm.
the dynamic shows up in a different way, but then it always kind of goes to the root, the root trauma of just really wanting to be seen and wanting to belong and wanting to be able to take up space and connect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't that interesting? Oh, this is a great question. Terry Picardo says, how hard is it for you to recover from these kinds of intense sessions? Does it wipe you out? Great question, Terry. That is a
Terry,
great question. Has she had sessions with you?
no, but that's like
Oh,
the sweetest question too. I'm pretty useless by Fridays. Like Dr. Shirley always laughs at me because by Fridays
right.
I'm pretty useless,
But on the
honestly.
other side of it, if you're a client that comes in to see you, because I've had 2 sessions when you had your office in Pasadena, I
Yeah,
actually got to have sessions with you in
yeah,
person.
yeah,
And you are pretty wiped. I'm talking about me as a client,
yeah,
wiped out when driving home going, what happened there? What just
yeah.
happened? Because it's a lot. And then I remember a couple of times you said to me, just go home and rest. Because
Mhm.
when you have these intense sessions, I had a session with Carrie. This was all new for me, and all the work I do, like I'm the shoemaker that doesn't take care of her own shoes. So I decided. Shirley kept saying to me, Shirley and Pellizzeri said, "You've got to have a session with Carrie." And I was having a lot of family issues, frankly, a lot of family issues. It
Mhm.
was after my mother had died, and just there was just left a huge situation, and I didn't know what to do. And Shirley had suggested a session with you, actually. And so I went to your office. I didn't know what to expect. And here's this sweet Carrie. She's wonderful. And you tell the story. So what happens is you're with her and you're telling your story and you're taking all these notes and
Mhm.
you're getting the whole story. I mean, to the best of my ability to tell the story about my mother, my father. I think you went back a couple generations, my
Mhm.
grandmother, my grandfather, my siblings. And then at some point you say, well, okay, step on these shoes. Like, okay. And again, I didn't have a clue what I was stepping onto. So I'm like, okay. So I tell the story, which is a weird story to tell the story about yourself is a weird thing in general. On
Mhm.
some level it is. And so I get maybe it is just for me, but it was odd. And as I stood on the shoes that you gave me, I fell over. I literally fell over and hit the wall. So what in the world has happened to me? What happened here? This is the damnedest thing ever.
Mhm.
And then later I felt stabbed in my back. And I mean, it was just a unbelievable experience. And then you unkinked, as you said, the
Mhm.
energy basically. And
Mhm.
you told me the story.
Mhm.
And it was really the most unbelievable. It was intense. It was amazing. And it allowed me to move on with my life. It allowed me to release the traumas that had been generational. I mean, my grandfather came through. It was unbelievable with things that I couldn't even have remembered or known about. And then I realized that
Mhm.
I had heard one story once about something that had happened, and it was just unbelievable. So the work is phenomenal, actually, and it allowed me to move forward. It allowed me not to be stuck.
It's funny. I always pay attention when people repeat words. And so like my word when I did my first constellation with my facilitator, I said the word trapped like 25 times. And I had felt that way my whole life. And so when I stood on the first paper, because you don't know what you're standing on. So
Right.
I did it a different way because I actually had never done an in-person one. Mine were all on the phone because she was in New York. And I remember, and this was 10 years ago, I remember standing on the paper in my living room in Los Angeles and was like, oh shit, this is how I have felt my whole life. And I will never forget it, Kellee. I remember holding the phone and being so polite and was like, can you hold on? Can you hold on? And I remember putting the phone down and I really imagined like unzipping a suit and stepping out of that suit. Didn't know what the hell was happening. And like you, I've had these
Wow.
gifts since I was little and I'd worked with, big teachers. My teacher showed up when I was young and I'd been in therapy forever and got back on the phone and she was like, okay, just what just happened? And then when she told me, it was actually my mom's mom died tragically when I was like 4 and I never met her, but it was really just my mom unconsciously following her mom and then me unconsciously following my my mom, and
Right.
I was in my grandma's energy and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is how I have felt for 30 plus years."
Wow.
Which then just set my life on like a wild expansive journey. But I slept
Right.
15 hours after my first one. I tease people that I call them FCT hangovers. Like you literally feel hungover.
Right. No, you do.
Yeah.
In fact,
Mhm.
Tracy Hildreth says, hi, Tracy. She says, I was amazed and shocked. I guess she had a session with
Yeah.
you, and she said,
Tracy.
how my body just bent right over. It was
Yeah.
wild, but it wasn't scary. And she's right. It's not scary.
Yeah.
It's not scary at all. It's just unbelievable to watch.
It's intense and you can try, Tracy, it's so good to see you. You can try, like in Tracy's case, you can try and stand up and it's
Oh,
like when I stood in as the grandpa and was like, I legit got shot in
yeah.
the head. I literally was holding my head. It was so painful. I'm like, and
Wow.
it until their trauma is witnessed, that
Is
energy
that it?
that
Until the
energy will
trauma
not
is
clear.
witnessed.
Yep,
So
until
the
the trauma is witnessed.
wow. So the witness is you having the session.
Yeah, you having this session. And so I speak of this all the time. I've done thousands and thousands of these. I've literally, out of probably close to 3,000 now, Kellee, I've had
Wow.
5 show up where they're supposed to. So everyone's just always out of order because, again, so much generationally hasn't been cleared. So then people keep getting birthed into inherited trauma. And so in my work, they call them out of order. So especially if you're in your 30s or
Oh,
40s, 50s, there are a lot of parentified children. And so I'm always having to move the feet around. And so they call them healing statements or truth statements. That's where I just close my eyes and tap on my chest and channel spirit. But until that piece, until you're actually saying, dear grandpa, I blah, 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 like I honor you for being killed in war or whatever those words are,
right.
that's when the hose starts unkinking. And then that's when everything comes up and out. So that's
Wow.
typically in sessions. I mean, everyone cries. Honestly, it's rare for people not to get
Yeah.
emotional, but that's when you get thrown into the wall or you start rocking in a circle. Like that's when there's a lot of like
Right.
physical movement until that energy gets out and is
Wow.
released. Yeah.
So Daryl Cunningham says, my family deals with guilt, which goes over and over through generations.
Mm.
So can you speak on guilt?
Yeah, guilt. Hi, Daryl. Guilt. I have found guilt is always tied to like war trauma. It's always tied to. I don't know if that's fact, but like in my work, I see it over and
Wow.
over and over again because in the war trauma configuration, people will always put their papers or their feet in a line so nobody moves forward. Nobody surpasses anyone that suffered. I see it a lot in Holocaust trauma.
Oh, I bet.
And it typically will show up pain wise, like mid back. Everyone will stand on the paper and they won't. Sometimes they'll say they feel guilty, but most of the time it's like, I have debilitating pain in my back, like right here. And I want to move forward, but like I'm not moving anywhere, which is really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. Shannon Jones says, I'm in North Carolina and I'm not sure I know what my traumas are, but I need this. I will be there May 22nd. Great, Shannon. I think that's
Yay.
going to be super. In fact, we should just talk about that briefly. Carrie and Dr. Shirley Pellizzeri and I are doing a webinar on May 22nd, and it all began because the three of us
Mhm.
have 3 points of entry when we work with somebody. So somebody will come to me, and I'll be talking about why their soul incarnated, what their soul purpose is, to help them move the energy, and then I'll realize that there's so much trauma or generational trauma that I'll say, I think you need to have a session with Carrie, or it will, and then Carrie will approach it from, as we're talking about, from family constellation therapy, that system. And then Dr. Shirley, they may need somatic experience. So, and talk about attachment there. So Shirley may come in and I might send somebody to Shirley. And so it's the three of us work in this kind of I don't know, area. And so we all view the soul as through what the soul is going through in a different way, but it's all for the healing of the soul. So please join us on May 22nd. It's an all-day webinar, and it's going to be broken into smaller groups. So you'll be able to work with me on a smaller level, and Carrie on a smaller level, and Shirley on a smaller level. And then we're going to rotate the groups. So there'll be plenty of time for questions and answers, and dealing with a lot of your own traumas, actually.
I'd like to add too, if you don't know what your traumas are, look for the patterns. Do you have a fear? Do you have a phobia? Is there an anxiety? Just look for what keeps showing up year after year after year. Typically, if it's been around, I always tell people, like, especially if it's been around for decades, like me, there was no reason for me to feel trapped my whole life. I wasn't. But I was just at every turn searching for freedom. So it's pay attention to that kind of stuff, because then you'll be able to figure out pretty quickly where it's stuck.
Right. And during this webinar, you're also going to be doing one for all of us.
For all of us, which I'm really excited about. I actually did a meditation the other day and asked Spirit what they wanted me to work on. And I saw the group and I saw everyone moving forward collectively, and it just made me so happy. So I'd love to really just anchor healing, but also anchoring really that big expansive move forward, because I think so many of us are searching for that right now.
Well, we are. Everybody is right now. And this is a year. It's a 5-year in numerology. And yesterday was a 555 day, which brings change, change, change. And we've just gone through this year and a couple of months full of, this of not being able to leave. And so now we really are going forward. I think 2020 was important because we were able to sit with ourselves to figure some things out here. And now going forward, if you are stuck, a session with you or the work on the May 22nd would be great. So Cece asked a great question. Hi, Cece. Such a sweet girl. Cece says, do you need multiple visits to unkink? Good question.
That is a great question, Cece, and I get asked that question a lot. So my clients get kind of frustrated with me because I will never tell people they need sessions. I believe in the soul, I believe in this work, and I believe that you will know. Yeah. I think the answer to that is complicated because I have the luxury of seeing so many people, and some people are ready. They unkink immediately. Other people need multiple sessions.
Yeah. I've seen that too. And people will say to me too, well, how often should I see you? I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's all up to your soul. If you feel like you need to have another session, we'll have another session. But often they get what they need. Often, and with Carrie, you usually get what you need. And maybe a few months later, you may need another session. But
my work is very layered, like very layered. I feel like it's like you peel that onion off, right? And then all of a sudden I can speak again to myself. After that first constellation, it was probably like 3 weeks later. I remember it clearly. It was like a Thursday, and it felt like an emergency of like, oh, I didn't realize I had this fear that totally doesn't belong to me. So it really, once you kind of let the energy integrate for the first couple of weeks, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
You'll know if you need more. You'll know.
So Pamela Tish just asked, how do you sign up for the webinar? Great question. Yay. In this comment section, I know that Renee put it up. You can go on Facebook to kelleewhite.com, our spiritual medium, Kellee White, Facebook, or Both Sides Now TV. It's all over. You can find it, and he's got it in the columns. So it's on my website, kelleewhite.com, and on Kellee White Spiritual Medium. And there is a page there that will tell you everything about the day. And it's going to be really an incredible day because it's from 9 in the morning Pacific time to 4 in the afternoon Pacific time. But we're going to be doing a lot of work. I mean, Shirley's work is going to be incredible because Shirley's going to be she's going to be doing inner child work. So people that have had childhood situations that really need some addressing. And Shirley's also going to talk about attachment. And if you haven't taken any of our classes yet, Shirley's a whiz with attachment. And we've got some bonus things that are going to be happening too. If you sign up in the next few days, we have a bonus from all three of us that you get when you sign up. And if you've already signed up, don't worry, we're going to email all of this to you. So everybody's going to get a little touch of something that's going to happen that day. So it's really going to be a very full day and an incredible day. Um, I love this. So, can one take on a medical issue from a child? Good question, Lizette. Have you worked with Lizette? Hi, Lizette. She's incredible.
Yes.
Hi,
I think it's
Lizette.
been a while. Yeah, I see that. I do see the genetic component show up, which now they have figured out with the study of epigenetics that we're carrying, trauma in our cells, and so we can turn those genes on and off. So I have seen it.
Mm, you have seen it. Yeah,
I have
that's
seen it. I'm one of those people. My
oh,
mom has a couple that yeah, autoimmune stuff, and it didn't pop up.
really?
Yeah, it didn't pop up. It honestly just popped up for me a couple years ago, but like the exact same thing.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Wendy Connolly asks the greatest question. Great question, Wendy. Carrie, do you ever find family trauma patterns with people who have autism or Asperger's?
It's funny, I do and I don't. It's
Okay.
funny. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's got to be in the family system somewhere, but again, back in our grandparents' generation, even our parents' generation, nobody was diagnosed with anything. So I almost feel like the time that we're in now with these kids or adults that are getting diagnosed, I almost feel like they're the front of that line.
Well, and really believe, my belief is that there are other, other galaxies
Mhm.
that they come in from.
Totally.
I mean, I
Totally.
really do. I think they're highly gifted
Yeah.
that wanted to have the experience here and have chosen to come into some families that perhaps they would have a lot of trauma, so they would have the experience of it.
They always kind of show up as like the lightning rod, like
Yes.
the light, the cosmic
Mhm.
lightning rod in these family systems. Yeah.
Yes, that is so
Yeah.
interesting. Wow. Is that true? Gina Marie. Hi, Gina. She says, hi, Kelly and Carrie. My 9-year-old nephew has a fear of almost all foods. Oh my gosh. He is only eating 5 things. Any guidance for children? Do you do sessions on kids too? Wow.
It's interesting. Hi, Gina. My first thought when I was reading the question, I feel like my brain just went to fear of almost all foods.
Right. Mine too.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm like locked into it. I would see if there is any like word trauma or restriction of food. That's what they're showing me is it feels like there's a kink in the hose around something, but it feels really old, like further back. So maybe start, Gina, like if you can ask about like great grandparents line. He feels really sensitive to me too. He probably has a lot of the gifts that Kelly and I have. I I really don't work with, I mean, especially like little kids, because I really believe in cleaning up the trauma with the parents because they just came into this, right? Like they just inherited this stuff. I have had some older kind of teenagers come with their parent and do a constellation together, which is really helpful. But like
Mm,
little kids, I would work with the parents.
yeah.
I
That's
mean, Kelly, do you have a hit of why he's afraid of food?
I don't. I mean, when you said that, it really resonated with me.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like there's some like
Mhm. You've really taught me how to view things from all backwards and forwards. Not just as a medium and going forward, but looking at the behind the and not I don't just mean past lives. I don't mean it like that. I really past generations. You've actually shown me that way, and I think that's a really
yeah.
important thing. Migdalia says, my maternal family has generational issues of children being raised by their aunts. Wow, is that
Wow.
abandonment? Woof.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
technically, yes. As an auntie, I'm like, oh man, I love that the auntie stepped up. But yeah, that will cause a big kink in the hose.
It will. It
Like
definitely
a,
will. Oh my gosh. And it's up there with I mean it's abandonment on some level here.
yeah.
I mean it just is. Um uh, Tell me how it works with adoption, Carrie, because I know adoption is big in your work. I think Carrie is frozen for a moment. Um this happens. There you are. Carrie, are you are you frozen? Come back, Carrie. There
It
you
has
are.
not misbehaved all day, you guys. We're probably malfunctioning something in the ethers,
I
Kellee,
was
you and I
telling you,
together.
I swear, I think they're
Yeah.
Jane Grossman. Hi, Jane. She says, Kellee and Carrie, you are such bright lights. Thank you for the work you do. Oh, thanks for that, Jane. I appreciate it. So let's talk about adoption because, okay. Well, before we even go to adoption, well, let's talk about adoption first. So tell me about adoption, Carrie. Um, well, we'll eventually get there. Okay, sorry about that. You keep freezing. Um,
Oh, that is weird.
yeah. So
Okay.
tell me a
Okay.
little bit about adoption.
It
Well, I guess we're not going to be talking about adoption. That was a perfect freeze. I agree, Shannon. We'll eventually get there or not get there. Are you going to be talking about adoption during our? Oh, I think during later on we have another event. We're going to be talking about that.
Yeah, in our expansive kind of deep dive event, I'll be
Yeah.
talking about adoption. I actually love working with clients who have been adopted because every one of them comes to me and they say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like I was adopted
Okay.
and I have these great families. Luckily, I attract the ones that."
Hmm. Mm. Well, I think we have a little kink in our hose here. um, I'm not sure
Oh,
what's happening, but we've got some kinks here. This is interesting. Verity Keogh says, I've noticed in my extended family that in every second generation, our women are marrying men who are alcoholics. Is it up to the women who are still here to break this cycle? How would one do this? Great question.
that's a great question. I mean, the fact that you've been able to recognize the pattern shows me that you're probably one
Yeah,
of the pattern breakers.
yeah. I was
So,
thinking that
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the kinks happen out of love, right? It's unconscious hidden loyalty and duty. And so all of these
Um,
women have kind of recreated that pattern out of love. But I always tell people it's like honor your ancestors by marrying a man who's not struggling with that,
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
that's so true. That is so true. Um, Sarah Jean Stone says, I have a family tree where my grandmothers lost their mothers as a baby and a
Mm,
toddler. I adopted my grandson who is autistic. I can only imagine the family trauma history. Oh, Sarah Jean, that's enormous, honey.
yeah, that's a lot. It's complicated, especially
Hmm.
I see this when if there's like death in childbirth or even death in toddler, it or
Yeah.
baby, that person then almost becomes like the martyr of the family. And what I mean by that is they literally feel it.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. I think we got a little traumatized by the story. Um, Carrie, I think we've missed you again. Hold on. Well, there you go. Can you say that again, Carrie? Excuse me.
Did it cut out at the whole part?
Yes, it
All of
did.
it? Oh, that's
You
so
betcha.
weird. Okay.
You
I
betcha.
feel
I
like
can
someone's
just keep
interfering with
talking.
us.
I'm glad Lori says this is hysterical. God knows I'm trying. I don't know, Carrie, if you should get off and come back on again.
I
I'm not
know.
sure.
Do you want me to?
Um,
It's so weird, Kellee. I have full bars and I've literally been on Zoom calls since 9 and it's been
isn't that
fine.
weird? I know that's just well, we'll just keep going here.
Okay.
Terry Picardo says, I think I'm a bit of a pattern breaker. And just let's say the vino had to go, one of the worst and best experiences. I hear you, sister. Uh,
I love your truth, Terry. I love
um, well, anyway, yeah, I guess you're the pattern breaker on that one. Um, I'm sorry, Carrie, we missed that one too. I know, I think we're frozen again. Um, oh well. Spirit wants to wait for the event to discuss the topic, Wendy Connolly says. I think you're right, Wendy. Oh my gosh. Um, that's very funny. Um, Min Tunbridge says, very informative today, ladies. Mine hid his addictions till I was trapped. Is entrapment common for women who watched their mothers be slaves to their fathers? That's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that one's sticky to undo because we're incredibly loyal to parents, right?
Yeah.
Whether consciously or unconsciously. So that's a deep one.
Yeah. Wow. That is a big one. Thank you for being so honest, everybody. I really so appreciate
Mhm.
what you're saying here today because everything that you're saying is helping somebody else. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate that. Um, so this is interesting. Melissa Bolter says, "Hello, ladies. I have a distant aunt that was one of the Pendle witches, Alice Nutter. Wow, I never heard of that, but wow. I was also told that I was crucified for being a healer, which in a past life, could there be a connection?" Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of fear, particularly with mediums, of being crucified.
Yeah.
Psychics,
Yeah.
mediums, you know. I'm
Yeah.
sure we all had our turn. We all got the whack. But not
Probably more
now.
than one. Yeah.
Probably. It's like, oh God, please, for
Ugh,
God's sakes.
ugh, so funny.
um, it's you. Oh, Min says I always say wow to her questions. It's true, Min. You have fascinating questions. I love it. So let's see. Is now Millennia Stan says my 19-year-old son is painfully shy and
Mhm.
antisocial. Is this a trauma, and how can I help him? It's a good question. Now,
That
what
is a
causes shyness in your work, Carrie?
I don't know that I've ever actually had someone come and present that as an issue. I
Okay.
would just look to see if did he suffer any traumas at like specific ages? For whatever reason, they're showing me grade school. It feels like seventh, eighth, seven, eight, nine. And then try and trace it in the parents' line, 7, 8, 9. Because I see that a lot. It's not
Mm,
a hard and fast rule, but it's like 99% of the time, if you have a trauma at 10, mom had a trauma at 10, 11. Sometimes it's a couple years before or a couple years after, but I would see if there's something that he's kind of hooked into. So
okay.
typically we follow the same sex parent. If you're born in a household with two boys, then you kind of split it, or two girls. But typically if you're in a boy girl family, the boy will follow the dad's trauma, the mom or the girl will follow the mom's trauma.
Wow, that is so interesting. Now, what happens if you have a boy and a girl and a boy? Both boys go with the dad?
Yeah, more often than not, you'll follow the same sex parent, but I
Fascinating.
sometimes think too, like I had way more mom stuff, my sister has way more dad stuff. I sometimes think it's energy too, like who's
Right.
carrying that if a female is carrying more masculine energy, which a
Right.
lot of us are.
Why? But that's very
Yeah.
true.
And I don't
Renee, can you put that quote? You just had a good quote there. Alyssa says, if one person in your family needs or receives a session, does it clear the kink from the other family members, or does everyone involved need a session? Great question.
Alyssa, that's my favorite question because this is my favorite part of family constellation therapy. My family has done nothing. No therapy. I mean, I'm not outing them either. Like
Oh, my
now,
family hasn't done a damn
yeah,
thing
like
either. Come
I
on,
was
let's out them.
the only one doing all of the things and reading all of the books and going to all of the people in EMDR and all of that. And that was honestly, I think the most rewarding part for me was, especially when I was doing them really consistently, everyone in my family started shifting.
Really? Yes.
Cousins, yeah, like
Wow.
aunts, uncles, like, and that part was so exciting to me.
Wow. So when you have a session, if you do the work, let's say I'm having a session, the other ones will feel it on some level. There'll
They
be an energetic opening or something happening.
I had a client, this is a banana pants story. I had a client and I kept feeling in her session, it was really horrible, but like a lot of abuse with the dad, very boundaried, hadn't spoken with the dad in like 25 years because she needed to set that boundary. Like really gnarly stuff happened. And I kept feeling almost panicked in her session because I was like, oh my God, I have to tell her that her dad's going to feel this. I don't know how he's going to feel it, but it's just energy. So he's going to feel it and he's going to reach out. And I told her, and she looked at me like I had 5 heads. The next day, she emailed me and he had found her on Instagram 6 hours after her session and wrote her this massive apology, like full acceptance of
Oh my
everything that he had
gosh.
done. That happened to me. My lady during the truth statement part, she kept making me say this one line over and over and over again to my mom. And then my mom started calling me and repeating that one line.
Oh my
So
gosh.
sometimes, I mean, sometimes they
Yeah.
really feel it. They really
Wow,
feel it.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I
How
know.
about sexual abuse from a father or a brother or an uncle or a stranger, or how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. It's really, really controversial in family constellation therapy because the guy that so I'm like, if you Google it, just beware. Bert Hellinger created this work, and he has some controversial views, especially around incest from father to daughter. I so he basically in the healing statement part would make the daughter turn to the dad and basically thank him for the trauma, which I definitely don't.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Wow. See, here we go. So wait, you froze up again. Oh, so can you repeat that one more time? So it's controversial. Well, apparently it's so controversial that
Am I back?
Spirit has lost it. Whoops. What? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Um, so they believe that the host gets kinked because the mother has turned away from the father sexually, so
Oh,
then the dad turns to the daughter. Um,
yeah.
no,
No.
yeah, no,
Yeah. That doesn't fly.
no,
That just doesn't.
no. So
Sorry about that.
I tackle it from a place of empowerment and a
Okay.
place of, yeah, calling back that all those parts that were stolen,
Hmm.
taken, violated. And so I tackle it from a much different perspective, but it
Oh,
comes up.
good.
I didn't actually know this until FCT. Kellee, it's literally pretty much in every family system.
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
It's
I'm
I
aware of
had
it.
no idea.
Yeah,
I'm
the
so
work I
innocent.
do. Yeah, the work I do. I'm
Yeah.
amazed how often it comes up. I'm
It's
amazed how
me
often it comes up.
too. Me
Um,
too.
boy, you have it. Jody says the universe shut that one down quickly.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big topic. Um,
I
so
can't be silenced, Kellee. You
yeah,
can't either.
no,
We'll figure out
we'll
another
figure this
way.
out. Don't worry. So Kelly Moreau says something that always stuck out to me was the fact that my mom died when I was 15. That's a huge
Mm,
thing, by the way.
yeah.
My dad's dad died when he was 12. My grandpa's dad died when he was young too. I don't know about the previous generations, but I knew something. There's something to it. And after seeing this, I have no doubt. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's so I always tell people if there are early deaths in family systems 55 and under,
Hmm.
this is not a scientific way of explaining this, but this is what shows up in the field. It creates a massive kind of energetic pothole, and then because nobody dealt with anything, the next generation just starts falling in the hole. So the fact that you have what 3 and probably
Yeah.
more early deaths,
Mm.
somebody way further back has died young.
Wow. And
Kellee,
so,
Kellee,
okay.
I'm sorry. I was like, the second I saw your photo, I was like, oh man, your mom is around you a lot.
Are you talking
Like
about her? Oh, this
oh,
Kelly.
Kellee, this
Yes.
Kellee, she's around you a lot. I love that question because again,
Yeah.
that shows that kink in the hose around loyalty. You
Yes.
lost your life, I'll lose mine, you know? And sometimes the loss will show up
Mm.
different. It'll be divorce or loss of money or loss of home. But sometimes it's literally like so and so died at 34, so and so died at
Well, it's an
34.
unconscious loyalty. What an
It's
interesting
yeah,
thought process on that.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. I mean, it does really make me look at my work even in a deeper way with all of this. It's so fascinating.
Because Kellee, how does that show up for you with those patterns in like soul contracts? Is it just
It does. If we use a genogram, and a
yeah?
genogram is something to diagnose, to help you diagnose your own family, really, how many people were alcoholics, or how many
Mhm,
people had abuse, or early deaths, or whatever you want to track on a genogram. In fact, Carrie's going to give us one.
mhm,
I'll often with my people have them do one
mm,
because how I'd like to track it too. I like to
yeah.
see where it comes from. Oh, it's easy to see with alcohol or drugs.
Mhm,
It's easy to see that trauma has caused so much of this. I can go back to that. But when you're looking at other systems of, a loss at when the mother dies at 15 and then this one dies at 15 or this one, then you start going, okay, this is a soul contract that
yeah.
in this lifetime, somebody came in. If they're seeing me or if they're seeing you,
Mhm,
or if they're seeing Shirley or they're seeking this type of help, something that soul has come in to change the pattern.
yeah.
That's
sure.
the work I do.
Hmm.
So, Morgan Davis Krause, I love your name, Morgan. My cousin refuses to acknowledge her own trauma, but I can tell it's backed up in her. I fear it'll come out in an unhealthy way. I know she wouldn't be willing to unkink or unlink anything. If I did it, would it help her in turn? What a sweet, sweet question.
Yeah, I always encourage people. That's a great question, Morgan. I feel like I had that intention at the beginning where I was like, oh, this is so powerful. Oh, I'm going to go do all this stuff so it helps my mom. And I would really encourage you to do the healing for you, trusting that that energy ripples out. And I know that that part's hard. And Kelly, you can
Yeah.
probably really speak to this, but all of us are on our own journeys, and
Yes.
it might not be in her journey to deal with everything that's backed up.
And I'm going to say this about your cousin. It may not currently be in
Mhm.
her wheelhouse currently. Everybody can change at any minute. All of a sudden, it may not be you that brings her some information that she might want to look into
Mhm.
something. There could be something that happens. She could have an illness or get sick, or one of her friends tells her. You never know where the angels are going to come in to give you the
Yeah.
message that you need to do some damn work on yourself.
Yeah.
That will happen. Don't worry.
Yeah.
The spirit has a way of making it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Especially now.
Especially now. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. So Alyssa Watling says, I've noticed a pattern of addiction in the family. I don't feel drawn to that pattern for myself. Could I be a pattern breaker? Do you think my kids could continue this pattern, and can I protect them? Good question.
That's a great question. I have seen it skip, honestly.
Mhm.
So I think,
I have two.
yeah.
Mhm.
So again, I think it's so much in my work. It's about talking about it. It's about
Yeah.
honoring, okay, there's addiction. Because back then nobody
Right.
talked about anything and there was just so much shame and
Oh my God.
kick this person out and kick that person out. And so I think the fact that you're even asking the question and
Right.
acknowledging that you're the pattern breaker will probably shift the pattern for your children.
Right, right. So here's a statement from David Vigiano. Hi, David. David, you should have a session with Carrie. You would love her. I didn't know my mom's dad. He died when I was young. She never spoke about him. Not until recently did I even think about her having a troubled relationship with him. A psychic recently brought that up.
Mm.
Then suddenly things started to make sense as to how close she was when it came to intimacy. And I now know I realized I received a lot of my mom's energy. Do you feel anything about my mom? She died a few years back from Alzheimer's.
Hi, David. It's nice to meet you. I get asked this question a lot of like, oh, well, I didn't know so and so. So, like, I couldn't be entangled in that. And when I stood on that paper, I didn't know my grandma. I never met my grandma.
Right.
I carried so much trauma for that woman. So it can absolutely, you could absolutely carry things for other people. I feel like your mom's around a lot as well,
Yeah.
David. And typically, again, in my work, Alzheimer's is in my family as well. There's a genetic component, but it's again, it's war trauma, it's secrets, it's suppression. So I think just talk, witness, honor the people that came before and the people that
Yeah.
are here and the people that are coming.
Absolutely. So Jody W says, does the ripple only work with biological family members? Can my healing help a spouse or significant other?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm part of a blended family, so I saw shifts in my stepdad too,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think energy's energy. So it's
Yeah.
like if I always tell people if one person has the courage to show up and start healing these patterns, it just keeps going.
Yes, yes, yes. So Kim Ann says, how does it affect a child-parent relationship if they share the same zodiac sign? Well, if they share the same zodiac sign, it's still, if it's not the same day, if it's a different day, that day would also bring different aspects to it. It all depends. I mean, maybe you came in to learn some of the same lessons and have some of the same energy, and especially if you're close to them. So
I love
that's a
that
good,
question.
yeah, it's a
I'm
good
I'm
question.
curious about it from a family constellation perspective because we have a lot of doubles in our family, and when I was tracing our lineage, double birthdays go back like really far. So I feel like there's some energy around that.
100%.
Yeah.
I did a reading the other
Yeah.
day for somebody who they were all born, the mother, the father, the brother, the sister were on the same damn day. I couldn't
Wow.
believe it. I said, I never heard of this before, and I've never heard the term doubles that you just used. I mean, that's as significant as it comes, and that's extremely significant. Hi, John Groom. He says, hi from down under Australia. Love your work. Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate that. Can you give my brother's name and spirit? No, I don't know your brother's name and spirit. Good question, though. That's a funny one. It's a good one. So Kim Ann says, I share the same with my mom, not the same day, but we are not close. See, it would depend on the different days, because I
Yeah.
always look at somebody by the days, aside from just the astrological sign.
Mhm.
See, Jan Reynolds says, my son and I share birthdays. Now, that's fascinating to me, don't you think?
I love that. My mom and dad are on the same day. I'm on my uncle's, my little brother, his mom. Like but you don't hear about it a lot. I don't hear about it a lot.
Wow.
So
I guess
I
because I'm
just,
so interested in birthdays,
yeah,
I do hear
yeah,
about it more than often, but God, that's
yeah.
just fascinating.
So
Um,
magical.
Debbie Foster Horan says, my mom and sister both had the same birthdays on 8/10. I think that's just
Mm.
phenomenal. I just do. We're 2 days apart. I just think that's, let's talk about this. Jean Abbott says, my daughter-in-law's sister committed
Mm.
suicide or
Oh
completed suicide this
no.
past Tuesday. I'm so sorry, Jean.
Oh.
That's awful. They were very close, and there were
Mm.
not any signs to the other family members. Can my daughter-in-law learn the ways of the suicide through her spirit guides and our angels? So, yeah, that's a
That's
really tough
tough.
one. That's a very tough one. Um, I'm not sure what you mean by learn the ways of this or the whys of the suicide. Yes, often you can. Often you can. I mean, you'd have to really start digging into the life of the person.
Mm.
Um, what was behind what was the sadness or the grief or the anger or the rage
Mhm.
or something happened.
Mhm.
Something happened here. Just
Mhm.
wait. You'll get the answers. So, then Morgan Davis says, I was born on my maternal grandmother's birthday the year after she died. Wow.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
That's pretty amazing right there.
Yeah.
That's definitely a nod to the grandmother.
Wow.
I mean, my goodness. That's interesting. CJ says it makes a difference. 1 second is 1 minute is 1 hour. She's absolutely right. In astrology, a
Yeah.
second,
Yeah.
even in twins, she's absolutely right. So Hunter Vaughn says, how can we book a session with Carrie? It looks like the website says the store is not set up
Oh,
to process payments.
I swear every
Oh,
as you have noticed, like
oh,
funky technological thing has happened, and there's like 3 of you where your emails went to spam. So I'll get back to you because I feel like a planet blew up this week, Kelly.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
uh,
it's crazy.
it's
Yeah,
crazy,
it's
but it is
crazy.
definitely worth, send Carrie an
Yeah,
email. You'll
just
get
email me.
in. It'll
Yeah,
take a while because she's beyond booked.
I know.
Oh, well, hey, Paul Kalser, how you doing, honey? Oh, I just love Paul. He says, thank you for this amazing session of information.
Mhm.
You're both so kind for doing this. My father and grandmother, his mom's mothers, whom he never met, passed on the same date. Wow, my
Oh
grandfather
wow,
passed on his wife's birthday. Oh, wow. Is there any
wow,
connection to passing dates? Oh, you bet. Yeah,
interesting.
I always
Oh,
thought it was a portal day.
yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it's
yeah,
the energy's already open that day
yeah,
for
yeah,
that to happen.
yeah.
Wow. That's
Wow.
amazing. Gosh. Well, everybody, we've if let's talk about our webinar again. Renee, put a little more information up for us. Shirley, Dr. Shirley and Carrie and I are going to be doing a webinar. I think you guys are going to love it. We're going to get a lot of information. Carrie,
Yeah.
what specifically are you going to be talking about for the webinar?
I'm really excited to dive into kind of the how, the who's, the what of family systems and trauma. And I'm such a big tools person. I really want to break down some of the kind of top dynamics so people can start kind of tracing within themselves or within their family systems
Yeah.
where it's stuck for them. Because then there's
Yes.
lots of stuff you can do to unkink that hose.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm going to be talking about soul purpose. Why did we really incarnate? What in the world brought us here? Why would we come
What were we
here?
thinking?
What was going on? That's what I want to know. No, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about soul purpose also and spirit guides and really what goes on before we incarnate and then how that translates to here when we're here on earth, trying to do this work because a spiritual perspective can really help shift our energy and help us to understand life and help us to understand what we're doing here.
Yeah.
It does help. Knowledge is power. And
Mm.
Shirley is going to be talking about, which is going to be really great, attachment theory. And if you don't know anything about attachment theory, oh, it's fascinating. In fact, Shirley wrote a book called Why Can't I Change?
That book is extraordinary. I make all my people with attachment stuff get that book. That book is
Right?
so good. It's
Exactly.
so
It's
good.
really, really helpful. So
Yeah.
she's got such
Mm.
so much information to impart for everybody. And again, this is going to be on May 22nd, and from 9 in the morning Pacific time to 4 p.m. And there'll be a lunch break. You'll be able to ask us questions. There'll be a whole bunch of times for Q&A, and we're going to be broken up into groups, and it'll run very smoothly. It's going to be fabulous. Don't, please join us if you can, because it's going to be a lot of fun and really interesting. It's going to be a really deep dive into things.
I mean,
Right.
that's a full day of healing, Kellee.
It's a full day of healing. And then we're
Yeah.
going to finish it with Carrie doing
Yeah.
this constellation for us.
So
How
you
long
guys,
is a constellation?
I mean, this first constellation, I need 2 hours. So I need 45-ish minutes for intake, and then I need at least bare bones minimum an hour to do the constellation. And that's just so that I can get a baseline for the family system. And then if they want follow-up sessions, I can do 90 minutes.
Okay.
I can do them in an hour. I just don't like to, honestly, because I
Yeah.
have a tendency to do bigger fields. So I try and do bigger fields. I don't think a lot of people work this way, so that people don't need a ton of sessions. I want
I
to
hear
help
you.
clean it up so that you guys can be
Right.
on your way and then go pass
Right.
it forward. And so it minimum 90 minutes after the first one.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
And then when we're doing our webinar, will that be like a, I don't know, 30-minute one?
Yeah,
Or,
I
I
think
mean, I
we
really don't
scheduled
know.
yeah, I think we scheduled 30
Okay.
minutes for it. Yeah, 15 or 30 minutes. So,
Okay.
which is great because I think it's going to give people obviously a taste to the morphogenic field. So it's going to be a little
Oh,
trippy, people. You guys are going to
I'm
be
not
rocking
kidding.
around in your
In
homes
in your home on Zoom.
on
It's going to
Zoom.
be amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
and Jessica Morley says the constellation therapy you did changed my life.
Aw, that makes me cry.
I mean, isn't that just amazing?
Ugh, I
Joanne
love
says,
it.
sounds like your work, Carrie, is better than having a lifetime of therapy in a session or two. I'm very interested. It's true, Joanne, it's true. I love therapy, and I am,
Me too.
excuse me, also a therapist, and Shirley's a therapist. I just know that there are other tools and modalities to use. It's just not enough.
It's not
That's just
and
my
I
personal opinion. It's not
yep,
enough.
it's not enough. I did not know that until I found family constellation therapy. I really
Mm,
didn't, because
yeah,
I was doing my work, and I mean
yeah.
early, trying all the things, and then I had one session in FCT, and I remember I walked, this is so LA, but I walked to get a green juice the next day, and I remember I hit the light and I just started bawling on the street because I had never felt that light in my entire life.
Wow.
And
And
I
that was
just had
after a session.
after one session, and then so
Isn't that
then
amazing?
I just wanted to kind of clean up all of the things, but
Right,
yeah, it's
right.
extraordinary.
It is.
I want to say
Mhm.
one quick thing about our workshop. Something else I've seen with family constellation therapy that's really beautiful, especially when you're doing the big groups of people, it will literally pull together the most sacred container for
Oh,
top shelf healing. So it's if Sally comes and shares one story in Q&A,
right,
Josie might get something from that. I really see that
right,
happen a lot in groups. So I'm excited about
right.
that part because I think there's going to be a lot of takeaways and a lot of
Oh,
healing.
I mean, listen, just from the comments that people are
Yeah.
writing today, I mean,
Yeah.
I love that everybody shares and goes deep because
Yeah.
this is a deep
Yeah.
topic, and
Yeah.
this is going to be a deep
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
Yes, Joanne says, sounds like your work, Carrie, is better than having a lifetime of therapy. I'm
I
very
know.
interested.
And,
Great, honey.
and Shanley, I just saw your comment. I love you. I'm so
Love
happy.
Shanley.
I'm so happy.
Shanley, join us on
Yeah.
May 22nd. You'll
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Charlene's going to join us. Very exciting. Well, Carrie, this has just been so much fun, and
Sorry about the technical difficulties. They were trying to stop us, Kel. It's not going to happen.
not going to happen. Not going
Not
to
going to
happen.
happen.
I'll just keep talking.
Yeah.
Um, and Debbie says, so group sessions raise everyone's vibrations and build a healing coherence. Yes, that's exactly
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So please
Mhm.
join us on May 22nd. It's going to be really an experience that you won't want to miss.
Oh,
So, and
so
thank you,
excited.
Carrie.
Oh,
And I
thank
will talk to you,
you.
everybody, later.
Yes.
See you next week, Monday.
Bye,
Oh,
guys.
hey, I have to say, Monday, you have to join us because Monday, James, we're doing a show on psychic vampires. You know, the
Ooh,
kind
that's
of
a good
people that
one.
take your energy, right? Monday. It's going to be Monday. So join James and me, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
You've been listening to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.